In the heart of Cedar Falls, Washington, where towering Douglas firs have stood sentinel for centuries, a mystery would unfold that would haunt an entire community for 25 years. This is the story of Pastor Michael Harrison, a man whose disappearance would tear apart the very fabric of a small town's faith, and whose discovery would reveal truths darker than anyone could have imagined. October 15, 1977. The autumn leaves painted Cedar Falls in shades of gold and crimson, but for the 847 residents of this tight-knit logging community, the world was about to turn cold and gray. Pastor Michael Harrison, beloved shepherd of Grace Lutheran Church, vanished without a trace. Michael wasn't just any pastor. At 34, he had breathed life back into a dying congregation. His sermons drew crowds from 3 counties over. Children laughed at his Sunday school stories. The elderly found comfort in his gentle voice during their darkest hours. He was the golden thread that held Cedar Falls together. But on that fateful Sunday morning, those pews sat empty. Michael Harrison simply wasn't there. His car remained in the parsonage driveway. His sermon notes lay scattered across his desk, half-finished. His coffee cup still warm on the kitchen counter, as if he had just stepped away for a moment and forgotten to return. Sheriff Tom Bradley launched the largest search operation in the county's history. Volunteers combed through 60 square miles of dense forest. Bloodhounds picked up Michael's scent at the edge of Whispering Creek, then lost it completely. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed him whole. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months. The FBI joined the investigation. Private investigators were hired. Psychics claimed to have visions. But Michael Harrison had vanished as completely as morning mist in summer heat. The town began to fracture. Whispers spread like wildfire. Some said Michael had run off with a secret lover. Others believed he had embezzled church funds and fled to Mexico. The most disturbing theory suggested he had been murdered by someone he trusted, someone who knew his routines, his habits, his vulnerabilities. Grace Lutheran Church closed its doors within 6 months. The congregation scattered to neighboring towns, carrying their grief and unanswered questions like stones in their hearts. Cedar Falls became a ghost town of sorts, its soul ripped away by one man's inexplicable disappearance. 25 years passed. New families moved to Cedar Falls. Old-timers tried to forget. The hidden story file gathered dust in the sheriff's office. Michael Harrison became a local legend, a cautionary tale parents told their children about the dangers that lurked in the deep woods. Then came April 12, 2002. Jake Morrison, a third-generation logger, was working a remote section of forest 15 miles northeast of town. The area had been deemed too dangerous to log in 1977, unstable ground, hidden sinkholes, and treacherous ravines that could swallow a man whole. Jake had felled a massive cedar that had stood for over 200 years. As the ancient giant crashed to the forest floor, something caught his eye, a glint of metal beneath the exposed root system. His heart began to race as he approached what would become the most significant discovery in Cedar Falls history. There, tangled in the roots like a trapped secret, was a small metal cross, the kind worn by clergy. Jake's hands trembled as he carefully excavated the area. What he found next would send shockwaves through the community and beyond. Skeletal remains perfectly preserved by the acidic soil and protective embrace of the massive tree's root system. But this wasn't just any skeleton. Fragments of clerical clothing clung to the bones, a wedding ring, engraved with the initials M.H. and a date from 1975, and, most telling of all, a wallet containing a driver's license that bore the name Michael Harrison. The Cedar Falls Search Teams Department cordoned off the area within hours. The FBI reopened the hidden story. Medical examiners began their painstaking work, and slowly 25 years of questions began to find their answers. The forensic evidence painted a chilling picture. Michael's skull showed signs of blunt force trauma, a single, devastating blow to the back of the head. The angle and force suggested someone he knew, someone who had approached from behind, someone he trusted enough to turn his back on. The investigation that followed would expose a web of secrets that had festered in Cedar Falls for decades. Financial records revealed that Michael had discovered embezzlement within the church board. He had been planning to expose the crime the very Sunday he disappeared. 3 months later, Harold Brewster, former church treasurer and respected community member, was arrested for Michael's murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Harold had been systematically stealing from the church for years, using the funds to support a gambling addiction that had nearly destroyed his family. On that October morning in 1977, Michael had confronted Harold with the evidence. In a moment of panic and desperation, Harold had struck the pastor with a tire iron, killing him instantly. He had then dragged the body into the deep woods, burying it beneath the massive cedar tree, believing it would never be found. Harold Brewster was sentenced to life in prison. He died behind bars 3 years later, taking his final secrets to the grave. But for the people of Cedar Falls, his conviction brought something they had thought lost forever: closure. Grace Lutheran Church reopened its doors in 2003 with a new pastor and a renewed sense of purpose. A memorial plaque now hangs in the sanctuary, honoring Pastor Michael Harrison's memory and his ultimate sacrifice for truth and justice. Today, Cedar Falls has healed. The mystery that once divided a community has become a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of truth, and the reality that justice, though delayed, can still be served. Michael Harrison's legacy lives on, not as a cautionary tale, but as a reminder that even in our darkest moments, the light of truth will eventually shine through. What we can learn. This haunting hidden story teaches us several crucial lessons about human nature, community dynamics, and the pursuit of justice. First, it demonstrates how financial crimes often escalate to violence when perpetrators feel cornered. Harold Brewster's gambling addiction led to embezzlement, which ultimately resulted in murder when exposure seemed inevitable. This progression shows why early intervention in addiction and financial crimes is crucial. The hidden story also reveals the devastating impact of unresolved mysteries on communities. For 25 years, Cedar Falls was haunted by speculation and mistrust. Relationships were damaged, faith was shaken, and the community's social fabric was torn apart. This demonstrates how unresolved crimes create lasting psychological trauma that extends far beyond the immediate victims. From a forensic perspective, the hidden story highlights the importance of preserving evidence and never giving up on cold, hidden stories. Advanced forensic techniques developed between 1977 and 2002 made it possible to extract crucial information from decades-old remains. Modern DNA analysis, improved bone examination techniques, and better understanding of soil preservation helped solve a hidden story that seemed hopeless. The discovery also teaches us about the power of environmental factors in preserving evidence. The acidic soil and protective root system of the ancient cedar tree created perfect conditions for preservation, turning nature itself into a time capsule that would eventually deliver justice. Finally, this hidden story demonstrates that truth has a way of surfacing, even after decades of concealment. Harold Brewster thought he had committed the perfect crime, but time, technology, and chance conspired to expose his guilt. This serves as both a warning to those who commit crimes and a comfort to those who seek justice, that truth, like water, will eventually find its way to the surface.